This adventure starts in the Wild Caucasus Mountain range, which lies on the border between Europe and Asia and stretches over 1,200 kilometers through 6 countries, with the heart of the mountains creating the border between Russia and Georgia. One of the most famous and impressive peaks in the range is Mount Kazbegi, standing at over 5,000 meters tall and known for having some of the best views of the valleys and the wild mountains. If you're new here, it's probably a good idea for you to know that I am obsessed with chasing amazing views and wild mountains. And so after hearing of Kazbegi National Park in Georgia, I just had to travel there and experience this untouched national park for myself. Good morning and welcome to Stefan Smida, also known as Kazbegi, one of the most northern towns in Georgia, high in the Caucasus Mountain range. The plan today is probably one of the most adventurous things I've done, and I'm going to find the best view, supposedly, in the whole of Georgia. And it's high in the mountains, over 3,000 meters high in altitude. Going up into the mountains, there's going to be tons of snow, I think, because it's still April. And the higher I go up in the mountain, there's going to be more snow, so I need to be really careful for that. And that might be something that stops me reaching the top of this mountain. But as I set off, I was feeling optimistic. The skies were blue, the wind was soft, and it all seemed like a perfect day for hiking. And it was truly amazing to see what rural life in Georgia was like. This tiny village of Kazbegi is like a place stuck in time. All the houses and walls are made of these loose rocks from the mountains above it, and it just contrasts and fits in with this place so well. And it's just an amazing place to start the hike and get out into these mountains. That was funny. I just set up the tripod to get a shot of myself walking through the village, and I just hear this noise behind me, and there's this lady chasing her sheep. They're trying to run away from her, so I just quickly help her. After showing off my shepherding skills, I approached the start of the mountain trail, which set the standard of what was to come further along in the hike. And it gave me a perspective of just how big these mountains are, as well as the history that they hold. As far as starts to a hike I've done, this surpasses everything I've ever done before. It is just amazing. Coming up through this canyon and gonna follow this river all the way up, winding up through the mountains. It's just so exciting. And it's just incredibly serene here, and the nature is just unbelievable. It's my first time experiencing these Caucasus Mountains, and you know, they're like nothing I've ever done before in terms of mountains. All this slate rock and all these massive mountains. So this is really exciting start to it. In terms of fresh water, one could argue it doesn't get any fresher than that. Literally melting off a glacier higher up the mountain. Icy cold, delicious. I made a quick pit stop to get some photos with my country's flag, as well as meet who I'd be sharing the trail with. So I'm approaching the first major landmark on this trail, and that is the 14th century monastery tucked away high in these mountains, and it looks over the whole valley of Kazbegi, and it's supposed to be extremely beautiful, so I'm excited to check that out just at the top of this hill. But there's a few more big boulders to climb over before I get there. Sat here having some water, I'm really starting to realise how truly wild this place actually is. And it's just crazy to think how like in the middle of nowhere I really am, and how beautiful and wild this place really is. I absolutely love it. You know, it's my favourite thing to do is come and see wild unseen places, you know, and like this just feels as wild and as unseen as I've been before. My steep climb to the church was rewarded with overwhelming views of the valley where I started the hike, and I quickly gained an appreciation of the time and effort taken to construct such an amazing place of worship high in these mountains. I mean, the views alone of this place are just insane. I mean, that's some of the biggest mountains I've ever seen in my life, and the valley leading up to them is just incredible. It's so peaceful up here as well, just the sound of distant dogs barking and just the wind blowing. Such a beautiful place for an old church. Exploring the grounds of the church was like taking a trip in time. All the places just felt so disconnected from the rest of the world. And I felt like for the first time in a while, I was truly in awe of a place and the feeling of being there. However, I was soon joined by an adorable dog, which showed me something I'd never ever seen before. It started skiing in the snow. I then took some time to soak in the view of the colossal Mount Kazbegi that stood high above the mountain range before continuing along my journey into the mountains. It is quite convenient how there is a tar road, because it saves me going back down the hill a bit and then starting to climb up this next bit. I can just go flat and then join the other trail. It's quite good. As I climbed higher into the mountains, I started to wonder about their history and what stories they could tell me if they spoke. Then I realized if they could speak to me, they would tell me to remind you to subscribe to the channel now and put the notifications on to never miss another adventure again. So I hit my first major snow pass, and the path that I was following goes through it and all the way up through the snow. But I tried to, it's just quite thick and deep, so rather than get my feet caught, I'm just going to go along the side and see how far I can get it. But it looks pretty clear up ahead, up on the side, so I'm just going to do that. But yeah, winging it. Beautiful up here, absolutely magnificent. And even if I was having to find my own way up the hill, this Lord of the Rings-like terrain was motivating me to climb high and reach even better views. Okay, no, that's not going to work. That snow is way too deep. So I'm just going to continue going around, even though it's way longer than the path says. But we'll see what happens. It's all part of the adventure. I managed to get back up on the ridge and have some fun flying the drone, and it was at that moment I realized I was actually in the perfect spot anyway. I've quite possibly found the most beautiful view I've ever seen in my life, let alone in Georgia. I mean, just look at the panoramic views, just mountains all the way around me. Topped it off by Mount Kazbegi, the 5,000 meter giant. Over the course of this hike, these mountains have reminded me how small we really are, and have ignited a spark in me to seek out more places like them in the lost corners of the world, and to inspire you to maybe someday travel to them and experience their magnificence for yourself. See you all in the next video.